Vincent Edward Jackson, known by his nickname Bo, the eighth of 10 children, was born on November 30th, 1962, and raised in Bessemer, Alabama. He was named after Vincent Edwards, his mother's favorite actor. His family described him as a wild boar hog, as he would constantly get into trouble. He attended school in McCollum, where he rushed for 1,175 yards as a running back as a high school senior. Jackson hit 20 home runs in 25 games for McCollum's baseball team during his senior season. He was a two-time state champion in the decathlon. Both times that he was the decathlon state champion, he built up such a commanding points lead before the 1,500 meters that he never competed in that event. "Distance is the only thing I hate about track," he said. In 1982, Jackson set state school records for indoor high jump at 6 feet 9 inches and triple jump at 48 feet 8 inches. During his junior and senior years at Auburn, Jackson had apparently transitioned his focus to baseball and was increasingly vocal in his disinterest to play football in the NFL. Despite having promised Tampa Bay Buccaneers management it would be a waste of a draft pick, they selected him first overall in the 1986 NFL Draft. A month prior, the Buccaneers had quickly fallen out of favor with Jackson when owner Hugh Culverhouse took him on a private jet to visit with the team during his senior baseball season. Jackson was told by the Buccaneers that the trip, which ultimately cost Jackson his remaining collegiate baseball eligibility, had been cleared by the NCAA and SEC when it had not. Jackson was upset that Culverhouse lied to him in an attempt to coerce him into signing to their team, and insisted that he would never play for the Buccaneers. Jackson held true to his statements and turned down the Buccaneers' $7.6 million 5-year contract in favor of a $1.07 million 3-year contract with the Kansas City Royals, and the Buccaneers forfeited his rights before the 1987 draft. Choosing to sleep in rather than attend the 1987 NFL Draft, Jackson found out that he was selected in the 7th round of the draft with the 183rd pick by the Los Angeles Raiders. Initially, Jackson stated he would continue to focus on baseball and would not sign, but his interest was piqued when he learned Raiders owner Al Davis was a fan of Jackson and was receptive to the idea of Jackson playing both baseball and football. A 5-year, $7.4 million contract was negotiated where Jackson would be permitted to play the entire baseball season with the Royals and would report to the Raiders once the Major League Baseball season was finished, even if it meant missing NFL games. In addition to this, Davis gave Jackson the highest salary of any non-quarterback player in NFL history, and Jackson would be receiving a reported $500,000 signing bonus plus another $500,000 if he returned the following year in 1988. Jackson joined the Raiders in time for their Week 8 matchup against the New England Patriots, where he rushed for a total of 37 yards on 8 carries. Jackson shared the backfield with Marcus Allen, himself an All-Pro and former Heisman Trophy winner, but eventually supplanted him as the featured running back despite being listed as the team's fullback. Perhaps his most notable performance in his rookie season came on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 12. Prior to the game, Seahawks linebacker Brian Bosworth insulted Jackson and promised in a media event before the game to contain Jackson. Jackson responded by running over Bosworth on his way to a touchdown near the goal line. He also made a 91-yard run in the second quarter to the outside, untouched, down the sideline. Jackson rushed for 221 yards that night and 2 touchdowns. He added a third with a reception. The 221 yards was a single-game record for the Raiders at the time. In his rookie season, Jackson rushed for a total of 554 yards on only 81 carries for a 6.8 yards per carry average. He played in 7 games, starting 5, and scored a total of 6 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 2 receiving. The next year, Jackson played in 10 of the Raiders' 16 games with 9 starts, recording a total of 580 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jackson's 1989 season was the best in the league. In 11 games with 9 starts, Jackson rushed for a total of 950 yards with a 5.5 yards per carry average and 4 touchdowns. In his abbreviated 1990 campaign, Jackson rushed for 698 yards and was selected to the only Pro Bowl of his career. Jackson suffered an NFL career-ending hip injury from a seemingly routine tackle at the end of a 34-yard run in a playoff game on January 13, 1991 against the Bengals. In his 4 seasons in the NFL, Jackson rushed for 2,782 yards and 16 touchdowns with an average yards per carry of 5.4. He also caught 40 passes for 352 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jackson's 221 yards on November 30th, 1987, just 29 days after his first NFL carry, is still a Monday Night Football record. Jackson's athletic career was affected by an injury to his left hip. In his last football game, the aforementioned playoff victory over Cincinnati in January 1991, Jackson suffered a dislocated hip following a tackle. In the film You Don't Know Bo, Jackson claimed that after he realized his injury on the field, he physically popped his hip back into the socket and in the process damaged the blood vessels supplying blood to the area. While doctors did not find proof that Jackson physically reset his hip, they did discover that there was a fracture of one of Jackson's hip bones. Within a month of the injury, Jackson had been diagnosed with a vascular necrosis of the hip joint. He also was found to have lost all of the cartilage supporting his hip. He would be forced to retire from football and was then cut by the Royals in spring training. Jackson would return to competition with the White Sox towards the end of the 1991 baseball season, but not play the 1992 season while having his hip replaced.